There are moments in history when a political force reaches a point where every path forward leads to decline. Not because of one single defeat, but because of accumulated contradictions, internal fractures, external pressures, and a loss of purpose. Today, many argue that the Tigray People's Liberation Front, once one of the most powerful political military organizations in Africa, stands at such a crossroads. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Geopolitics at the Land of Origins. The TPLF was established over 51 years ago in northern Tigray. Its name suggested a clear and focused mission, the liberation of the people of Tigray. However, its ideological foundation and manifesto introduced a deeply ethnic-based political framework that would later reshape Ethiopia's political system. This framework promoted ethnic division as a central organizing principle of power. It redefined politics in a way that emphasized difference over unity and competition over coexistence. In doing so, it laid the groundwork for long-term fragmentation within the Ethiopian state. At the time of its formation, the TPLF was not the strongest armed group. Organizations such as EDU, EPRP, Jebha, and Shabia were more prominent and better positioned. Yet history does not always favor the strongest. It favors those who understand timing, alliances, and strategy. Through regional dynamics and support networks involving neighboring states like Sudan, the TPLF gradually strengthened itself. Figures such as Sibhat Nega became central to its ideological direction and long-term planning, shaping the movement into a disciplined and strategic force that would eventually rise to power. By 1991, the TPLF had become the dominant force within the coalition that overthrew the Derg regime. What followed was nearly 3 decades of control over Ethiopia's political system, military structure, intelligence apparatus, and key sectors of the economy. During this period, it established major economic entities such as Effort, which grew into one of the largest conglomerates in the country. This concentration of power allowed the TPLF to shape not only governance, but also the economic direction of the nation. As Lord Acton famously warned, power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Over time, public dissatisfaction grew. Many Ethiopians began to question the fairness of the system, the concentration of power, and the long-term consequences of ethnic-based governance. This dissatisfaction eventually led to widespread protests that reshaped the political landscape of the country. The TPLF lost its dominant position at the federal level and retreated to Tigray, its stronghold. But the loss of central power did not mean the end of its influence. Tensions between the federal government and the TPLF continued to rise, eventually culminating in one of the most devastating conflicts in Ethiopia's modern history. The war that began following the attack on the Northern Command brought immense human suffering, widespread destruction, and deep national trauma. After this catastrophic conflict, the Pretoria Agreement was signed, offering a path toward peace. However, peace on paper does not always translate into stability on the ground. Tensions persisted, trust remained fragile, and political maneuvering continued beneath the surface. Today, the internal condition of the TPLF reveals deep and widening divisions. Out of the 17 top generals who once commanded its military divisions, 12 are no longer aligned with the organization. Some have distanced themselves completely, while others have taken different political paths. Prominent figures such as Getachew Reda and Sadkan Gebretensey are now working with the federal government, signaling a major shift in internal dynamics. Leadership struggles have intensified further. The removal of Getachew Reda and the tensions surrounding General Tanisay Warade reflect a deeper conflict within the organization. Questions of legitimacy, internal hierarchy, and regional identity have become central issues. Accusations of dominance by elites linked to Adwa, often associated with the legacy of Sibhat Nega, have deepened internal mistrust and fragmentation. At the same time, statements linked to Adisal and Balama have drawn attention to discussions about secession, the use of alternative currencies, and access to external ports. These developments raise serious geopolitical questions about the direction in which the TPLF is attempting to move. But, beyond politics and leadership, there is a more powerful force shaping the future: the people of Tigray themselves. The people of Tigray are Ethiopians in identity, history, and culture. After years of conflict, there is a growing sense of exhaustion. The economic situation is extremely difficult. Large numbers of young people are leaving the region en masse, seeking stability and opportunity elsewhere, escaping another wave of devastating war. The willingness to return to war is fading, and the cost of continued conflict is becoming increasingly clear. There is also an important regional lesson that cannot be ignored. The experience of Eritrea demonstrates the complex and often difficult consequences of secession. Independence does not automatically bring prosperity or stability. In many cases, it introduces new challenges: economic isolation, prolonged militarization, and limited opportunities for growth. As John F. Kennedy once said, "Those who make peaceful revolution impossible will make violent revolution inevitable." Yet today, another reality is emerging. When people reject conflict, political movements built on confrontation begin to lose their foundation. At the same time, the balance of power in Ethiopia has shifted significantly. The federal government under Abiy Ahmed has strengthened its military capabilities and expanded its technological capacity despite conflicts in many parts of the country. The difference between the past and the present is substantial, and this change alters the strategic landscape entirely. This creates a difficult reality for TPLF. If it chooses confrontation, the risks are far greater than before. If it chooses silence, internal divisions and declining influence may continue to weaken it from within. In both scenarios, the path forward is uncertain and filled with challenges. Sun Tzu reminds us, in the midst of chaos, there is also opportunity. But opportunity requires unity, legitimacy, and the support of the people. Without these elements, even the strongest movements begin to decline. Now, the question of Tigray's independence is once again being raised. But today is not 1991. The geopolitical environment has changed. Ethiopia and Ethiopians have changed. And most importantly, the people of Tigray have changed. No political project can succeed without the will of the people. No movement can survive without legitimacy. And no future can be built without trust. So will the TPLF succeed in making Tigray an independent nation? Will the people of Tigray follow that path? Only time will tell. If you found this analysis insightful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Because in geopolitics, understanding begins with asking the right questions.